Have you ever wondered why certain truths feel almost physically painful to think about? Why some realizations instantly trigger anxiety, denial, or the urge to look away? What if the discomfort you feel isn't weakness, but protection? Carl Jung believed that the human mind is not designed to reveal truth freely. It is designed to protect you, and sometimes the only way it can do that is by lying to you. Today, we're exploring one of Carl Jung's most unsettling ideas, that many of your beliefs, identities, and certainties are not reflections of reality, but psychological illusions carefully constructed to keep you functional, not happy, not fulfilled, just stable enough to survive. Why the mind fears truth. According to Carl Jung, truth is not automatically healing. In fact, unfiltered truth can be destabilizing, even dangerous, for the psyche. The mind evolved not to pursue objective reality, but to ensure psychological survival. And survival often requires distortion. Think about it. If you suddenly became fully aware of every fear you suppress, every contradiction in your personality, every unresolved trauma, every unconscious desire you're ashamed of, your sense of self could collapse. Carl Jung argued that the psyche has a natural self-regulating function. When something threatens psychic equilibrium, the mind intervenes, not with logic, not with reason, but with illusion. These illusions act like shock absorbers. They soften reality just enough to keep you moving forward. And most of the time, you don't even realize they're there. The persona, the first necessary illusion. One of Carl Jung's most famous concepts is the persona, the mask you wear in society. Your persona is not fake in a simple sense. It's a functional identity, shaped by social expectations, family roles, culture, and survival needs. You learn early what is rewarded and what is rejected. Confidence over vulnerability. Competence over confusion. Strength over doubt. So, the mind constructs a version of you that fits. The illusion isn't that the persona exists. The illusion is believing that it is who you truly are. Carl Jung warned that over-identification with the persona creates inner emptiness. You feel like you're performing your life instead of living it. Yet the persona remains necessary. Without it, social life becomes impossible. So the mind protects you by letting you believe the mask is the face, until cracks begin to appear. The shadow, the truth you are not ready for. If the persona is what you show the world, the shadow is what you hide from yourself. The shadow contains traits, impulses, emotions, and desires that conflict with your self-image. Anger you deny. Envy you repress. Cruelty you refuse to acknowledge. Carl Jung believed the mind does not destroy these traits. It exiles them. And to keep them hidden, it creates powerful illusions. You tell yourself, I'm not an angry person. I don't care about power. I'm always the victim. These stories protect your conscious identity from disintegration. But the shadow does not disappear. It leaks through projection, emotional reactions, moral outrage, and irrational hostility toward others. The illusion is not harmless. It simply delays confrontation, and the longer it delays, the stronger the shadow becomes. Projection. How illusions spread outside you. Projection is one of the mind's most sophisticated defense mechanisms. When a truth inside you becomes too threatening, the mind relocates it onto someone else. You don't see your aggression. You see a hostile world. You don't confront your insecurity. You see arrogant people everywhere. Carl Jung believed projection is not a moral failure. It is a psychological necessity at first. It allows you to externalize internal conflict until you are strong enough to reclaim it. But most people never reclaim it. They build entire worldviews around their projections. Enemies, ideologies, moral crusades. The illusion becomes reality. And the more convinced you are that the problem is out there, the safer you feel, and the further you drift from self-knowledge. Collective illusions and shared myths. Illusions are not only personal, they are collective. Carl Jung believed societies, like individuals, create shared psychological defenses. Cultural myths, rigid belief systems, political identities, and absolute moral narratives all serve a similar purpose. They protect the group's psyche from chaos and uncertainty. These collective illusions give people a sense of meaning, order, and belonging, but they come at a cost. When a society clings too tightly to its illusions, it becomes incapable of self-reflection. Shadow elements are projected onto outsiders. Complexity is reduced to good versus evil. Carl Jung warned that when the shadow is not integrated consciously, it is acted out collectively, often violently. History, he believed, is filled with examples of societies collapsing under the weight of their unexamined illusions. Neurosis, when illusions begin to crack. According to Carl Jung, neurosis is not meaningless suffering. It is a signal. It arises when the illusions protecting the psyche are no longer sufficient. Anxiety, depression, existential emptiness. These are not random malfunctions. They are signs that the conscious personality is out of alignment with the unconscious. Something within you is demanding recognition. The mind can no longer maintain the illusion without cost. At this stage, many people double down on denial, distractions, addictions, compulsive productivity. Others begin the dangerous journey inward. Carl Jung believed neurosis is often the first step toward transformation if you listen instead of suppress. Dreams, the language beyond illusion. Dreams, for Carl Jung, were messages from the unconscious, unfiltered by social masks. They speak in symbols, not logic, and often they reveal what the conscious mind is not ready to face. Dreams bypass illusions, not by confronting them directly, but by undermining them. You may dream of being lost, naked, chased, or descending into darkness. These are not random images. They reflect the psyche's attempt to restore balance. Carl Jung warned against interpreting dreams literally. Their function is compensatory, not predictive. They correct the conscious attitude by revealing what has been ignored. In this way, dreams are both threatening and healing. They show you what your illusions are hiding. Individuation, the slow death of illusions. Individuation is Carl Jung's term for psychological maturation. It does not mean becoming perfect. It means becoming whole. This process requires the gradual dismantling of illusions, not all at once, but layer by layer. You don't destroy the persona. You loosen your identification with it. You don't eliminate the shadow. You integrate it. Individuation is not comfortable. It involves loss of certainty, of identity, of false clarity, but it replaces illusion with depth. Carl Jung believed that a person who individuates becomes less reactive, less moralistic, and less dependent on external validation, not because they know more, but because they need to lie to themselves less. Why most people resist this process? If individuation is so valuable, why do so few pursue it? Because illusions are efficient. They allow you to function without confronting existential uncertainty. They provide ready-made answers. They reduce complexity. Carl Jung believed most people do not suffer because they lack meaning. They suffer because the meanings they cling to are false. Letting go of illusion feels like psychological death, and in a sense, it is. The ego must surrender its fantasy of control. Most people would rather suffer comfortably than awaken painfully. The paradox of psychological freedom. Here is Carl Jung's final paradox. The mind protects you with illusions, but true freedom begins when you no longer need that protection. This does not mean brutal honesty at all times. It means developing the strength to tolerate ambiguity, contradiction, and inner tension, to live without absolute certainty. Carl Jung believed that consciousness itself is a burden, but also a privilege. When illusions loosen their grip, life becomes less predictable, but more real. And perhaps that is the ultimate goal. Not happiness, not success, not perfection, but the courage to see clearly, even when clarity hurts. So the next time you feel resistance to a thought, a memory, or a realization, pause. Ask yourself, what illusion is trying to protect me right now? Because according to Carl Jung, the mind does not deceive you out of malice. It deceives you out of care, and growth begins the moment you decide you are ready to see beyond it.